So now that we've had this discussion on is a hot dog a sandwich, I want to walk through a couple of things with you to not necessarily continue the conversation. I'm trying to find my, not necessarily to continue the conversation on is a hot dog a sandwich, but to kind of talk to you about how this relates to our introduction into arguments. So remember at the top we're going to write like intro to argument. So all of this that we're starting today moving forward will go in your argument section of your binder. All right. So what are some like problems as we were working through this, like generally, did you see happen? What were some problems? Okay, so some problems were developing a clear claim. Yep. Because if you do not have a clear claim, according to your notes that y'all took this last week, then you cannot create a clear line of reasoning, right? What other things were difficult?
Developing a claim without like succession, or not that word.
What do you mean?
Like without saying even though.
Okay, so developing a clear claim without like a qualification or without a concession. Okay, what else was difficult about the process? What else did we not agree on? The definition. So, like I always use the example for like the idea of like key terms as like education. So if we had an argument about education, if there was a prompt about education, unless a key term is formally defined for you in the prompt itself, your job is to tell me what your definition of that key term is. I know in rhetorical analysis we talked about like there wasn't much value in an introduction, like I just need a thesis. In argument, I have to have an introduction. I have to have an introduction because I need to know like the context of the issue, and I need to know your definition of key terms. Because without that, you're leaving too much up to me to figure out. And when I am working harder than you are in an essay to figure out what you're saying, then I'm not able to score you higher. Anything else that was difficult? I'm going to tell you what was difficult for y'all was like seeing value in the other side's position.
Concessions.
I mean, like, a concession is what that is, but I'm seeing that y'all are not seeing value in that. Well, maybe just a few people that were wanting to yell at each other back and forth. Okay. Now I'm going to walk you through the prompt. Now, this is not a prompt from College Board. This is a prompt from Applied Practice. And there are a little differences in what we see now, but I'll kind of walk you through that. So in our argument prompts, there will always be a little background on the speaker or on the person that is saying or wherever the quote is coming from. There will be a little bit of background. This is a lot. Like this is more than we'll see, and I'll show you some other ones once we get back from winter break. This is going to be our focus from now until Christmas break is going to be this prompt. So I'll show you how those differ later. Then you're going to always have your quote. So our prompts in argument are driven off a quote. And in the have like an issue or a topic, and then you're going to be able to figure out the position. And then you will always obviously have a task. Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during the Second World War, was also a brilliant orator and prolific writer. Many of his works are characterized by colorful narration and objectivity, and his speeches during World War II are a part of his most important written works. In an interview with News of the World in 1938, Churchill said the following about language: "The greatest tie of all is language. Words are the only things that last forever. The most tremendous monuments or prodigies of engineering crumble under the hand of time. The pyramids molder, the bridges rust, the canals fill up, grass covers the railway track. But words spoken 2,000 or 3,000 years ago remain with us now, not as mere relics of the past, but with all their pristine vital force." So, one thing that I always like to do when we have a quote is I like to do a paraphrase, right? So we will start by saying Churchill argues what? What does Churchill argue? Turn to your partner. Got 30 seconds. Ready, set, go.
Greatest time.
All right. Churchill argues, what does he argue? Okay. The importance of language over physical objects. Okay? So I like a paraphrase because usually what I like for you to do is to put that in your introduction, because as a reader, when you paraphrase the quote that's being said, then I am able to say, okay, this kid does understand the quote, or they do not understand the quote. If you miss, then I've got an issue. If it comes down to you having to paraphrase it for me. So now we have the task. Remember, we always bracket our task, and we bracket it with where it starts with the marker verbs. So argue your position on the value and timelessness of words. So I'm going to draw a little asterisk here because we will not have an and. We shouldn't. I'm going to give you some prompts that do just in case, but College Board has told us in like our stable worded prompt that we will not have and. Why does and in a task create complication?
Because
You have to write about both. You have to prove two things. We did have and we have had and in years past. Sometimes the things on either side of the and are so similar that like your analysis of it is the fine. But the value and timelessness are two totally different ideas. So if we were to write this, you would have to both prove the value of words and how the words are timeless. Or say there is no value in words because they are not timeless. Right? Or there is value in words, but they are not timeless. So there's so many options. So we won't see that, but I probably will give you a couple of prompts, older prompts that have it, just in case. They say they won't give it to us, but I just don't want us to be surprised. Right? So for purposes of our prompt that we're going to work through, we're going to mark out the value part of this. So when we are thinking about this and writing this, we're going to talk about it that way. So when we look at this, just like we did for rhetorical analysis, I want us to write the question. So if we turn that task into a question, what are we going to say? What's the question? Yep. It just has to be a yes or no. Are words timeless? There's the question. Now, the answer to that question is our position, and our position will be our thesis. So, where in rhetorical analysis we would have our two claims, and then we would have our speaker, and then our understand and our do, and then our extension sentence. For argument and for synthesis, it's going to be just a clear position. We will talk about adding in our claims like, yes, words are timeless because blank and blank. We'll talk about that because I kind of like that idea, but also thesis point is very easy here because you just simply have to say, yes, words are timeless. Boom, there's your thesis point. So the thesis is a little bit easier to get in argument and synthesis as long as you address the prompt, right? So let's talk about positions. So when we talk about positions, we have a few. We can agree, we can disagree, or we can qualify. So what does it mean if you agree with something? Okay, we support it. What else does it mean?
You believe it.
Okay.
Always correct.
What else? Okay, yeah. All right. I also like the idea of defending that position. So, what does it mean to disagree?
To attack that position? If we're doing parallels.
If you disagree, you are attacking the position. So, but you said not to attack.
I said to attack.
I swear you said not to attack. Okay, what else? Okay. What else?
Against.
If you don't defend something, what is the opposite of defending something?
Attacking.
Challenging. Now, with your partner, you have 30 seconds. What does it mean to qualify an argument? Ready, set, go.
I don't know, there's no words that are
What does qualify mean? To qualify an argument means what? Well, aren't you considering it? Is that if you consider something, then are you taking a position?
Too short of like change it slightly? I'm not sure.
I guess it's like agreeing with another position, but making exceptions to support yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're close. The closest I've heard today. Logan, what were you going to say?
To make a criteria for it, to say it can if, but it won't if.
Okay, yeah. So you're going like what y'all are saying is right. Y'all are the first group to do that. So it is absolutely not half and half. It is absolutely not a paragraph for it and a paragraph against it. That's a politician. Okay? When we look at the argument, we look at it as 80-20. So you guys are correct. When we talk about qualifying an argument, it is 80% like one position, and then the 20% is the other position, but in certain circumstances. So the best way I know how to tell you this is to like use the death penalty as an example. So when I get to the qualification statement for the death penalty, you might want to write it down so you have an example. So the death penalty, if we agree with it, yes, the death penalty should stay, kill everybody. Welcome to Texas. Then, no, the death penalty should not stay because every life is valuable. Qualifying is this. Yes, we should keep the death penalty except for in cases of diminished mental capacity. Yes, we should keep the death penalty except in cases of diminished mental capacity. So what this would look like organizationally would be we would have 2 full body paragraphs with 2 claims, right, supporting the death penalty. Then we would probably have a claim and a chunk for our qualification. And each one of these, obviously we're going to organize our papers the same way we do for rhetorical analysis. Claim, chunk, chunk, claim, chunk, chunk. I'll talk about organization of all that later. We will not be writing qualified arguments for at least a couple of months because they are too difficult for y'all to do right now. What happens is you end up talking yourself right out of your argument, which means you have no clear position because you said yes in the beginning, and when I got to the end of your paper, it was no. So it is, qualification can lead to a sophistication point, but qualification can also lead to a passing grade if you don't do it well. So in the beginning, I'm going to tell you to pick a side until I feel like you have moved beyond that. So when we start looking at planning, I want to look at yes, words are timeless, no, words are not timeless, and now I need why or how. So I need at least 2 or 3 bullet points for yes and 2 or 3 bullet points for no. You got like 2 minutes, ready, set, go. Why or how?
In our groups?
We don't really have time, so like 2 minutes on your own.